Alright everyone, it's time for Occult Literature, video number 411. It's been a while, about 6 months since the last edited work, A Plea for the Practice of Botanic Medicine by John Skelton. This is a 250-page work, so this is a full-length tract. Very, very interesting, and this is one of my favorite topics within the paranormal, occult, sort of alternative nexus of literature. The history of medicine, especially in the 19th century, is fucking fascinating. Effectively, this is a Thomsonian tract. So this work was written by someone who practiced Thomsonian medicine. He was a healer at his time. Mid-19th century. What you've got is a huge upheaval within the public. Part of it's technological, of course, the rise of the Industrial Revolution. Part of it is medical, as this work points out. Part of it was political and religious, too. There's a huge debate between people who are more atheistic, people who are more Christian Orthodox, and then people who are more like mystic at the time that rises up around the 1870s, really, with Blavatsky and others, and then continues. Prior to that, in the era of the rise of organic chemistry, so the semi-standardization of various plant compounds, you have one hell of a debate. I've read and written at this point, I think I've edited a half dozen works that touch on this subject. The interplay, the debate between different medical schools of thought, and read a dozen more at least. The number of people that were launching off at each other, and by the way, having public oratory, speeches and debates with one another at the time for entertainment and information purposes, is sheer. Thomsonian medicine is the concept of herbal simples, vegetable medicine. It was a clear improvement by modern standards over what had come before. I've edited works from a few decades prior to this and into this period. Standard medicine at the time relied upon ipecac and things like that. Mercury, giving you arsenic, dispensing sulfates. Now, for some purposes, for itch or for topical infection, sulfur is perfectly fine. But some of these compounds were poisonous. They were giving people soluble mercury as a form of healing. As a result, many people died. Homeopathy was introduced. Of course, the idea of infinitesimally smaller dosing. Well, it's helpful. It's not doing anything, but it's doing less harm. The hot water bath, the cold water bath, hydropathy, atmopathy, these are all detailed in this particular work, by the way, along with a bit about Samuel Thompson's basic life. By the way, came from Vermont. Not a fucking surprise. Samuel Thompson originally concocted he was a very religious man, so that ties into his usage of medicine. He was just a farmer. He wasn't classically trained in medicine. The story goes, according to this book, and I find this fascinating, that first he discovered that lobelia was a fun trick. So you'd trick somebody into eating it and they would vomit. But then he noticed that one individual who had been kind of melancholic, so their humors were out of balance, literally what they would have said back in the 1800s, he was not a healthy man. He took the lobelia emetic, and originally Samuel Thompson was like, I'm going to give him this puke purge, and it'll be hilarious. I'm going to get to watch him vomiting in the bushes, and I've tricked him. But then he felt better. All of a sudden he felt healthy again. He felt better than he had in years. And Samuel Thompson, simple man as though he was, said, I think I need to become a doctor. He was legally persecuted, etc., etc. Again, the story is all in this book. It's a fairly lengthy tract, actually, altogether, just about Samuel Thompson's life and doings. There's a long litany of a conversation between him and his wife, where he told his wife, hey, God has called me to be a healer. And she's trying to dissuade him and saying, look, we paid off the farm loans, we've got our land, we've got our food, we've got our kids and stuff. What the hell are you thinking? And Samuel Thompson, in the end, prevailed upon her through various biblical allusions. That may or may not actually have been the case. It's more likely to have said, hey, I'm going to go practice medicine. She said, oh, thank God, go away. In the end, Thomsonian medicine was probably the best thing to happen to millions of people prior to the rise of more modern medical practices. Even when it was not fully standardized or necessarily even symptomatically helpful. And much of it was symptomatic treatment. It wasn't treating an underlying disease, it was treating the symptoms. Dropsy, for example, retention of water. Okay, we've administered this herb that makes you pee more, so you're not holding water. But we haven't addressed the fact that you have heart failure or something like that. But it did a lot less harm. Prior medicine was giving people fucking mercury and arsenic half the time. Samuel Thompson said, no, there's herbal simples. Cayenne pepper was a big one. Cayenne pepper was considered medicinal. Of course, if you've got some obstruction and you take a bunch of hot pepper powder, you probably feel better. Your nose runs for a while, and then all of a sudden it's clear because there's nothing to run anymore. An entire litany, an entire encyclopedia of different medical terms rose up in the wake of Samuel Thompson. It really is one of the most fascinating subjects that I've ever run across. I love the history of medicine. Highly recommended. Again, full-length work. It also has some herbal simple preparations that Samuel Thompson developed. Again, they involve things like cayenne powder and most famously Lobelia inflata, the lobelia, simple flower, often found in gardens. It was considered a drastic narcotic and deadly poison by the Galenic school prior. It was literally listed as a narcotic. Oh my God, it'll make you hallucinate. It is an emetic. We now know that it is toxic, but it is not generally going to kill a person, certainly not in the dosages that Samuel Thompson was concocting, and was certainly better than taking mercury. So 250 pages long. Link is in the description of this video. Highly recommended. Very, very good work overall. That's about all. Peace out.